Welcome back. Just got here at 6:30 a.m. I haven't caught a catfish since I was a kid. Kitty. We're trying. We got cut bait, we got crawlers, we got all the works. They've apparently been stocking here at Quarry. No luck yet though. But we got a cool plant to talk about. This is Datura stramonium, which is also known as Jimson Weed. This is a non-native plant here in California. I think it has invasive status, but I'd have to double check that. This plant's really interesting, and it's not from here. I believe it originates from Central America and South America, but it's pretty widely distributed throughout the world now. This is an annual herb, and again, this is in the nightshade family, and this plant has a lot of interesting uses. More than anything, dangerous uses. But before we get into those uses, let's quickly talk about some of these properties. So if we look at these nightshade leaves, we have a darker green leaf on the top of the leaf, and the underside is much lighter green. These leaves are obviously toothed, and that is the easiest way to identify the leaves. The flowers are one of the most telltale characteristics of this plant, in that these flowers have these beautiful creamy white trumpet shapes, and when they open up, they're absolutely fantastic. I've been kind of waiting for the sun to come out for this one to open up, and it hasn't yet, so I don't know why, but yeah, that's that. The fruits on this plant are these little spiky balls, and in fact these fruits are called thorny apples. In fact, thorn apples is one of the other common names for this plant. There we go, a nice close-up. These little thorny apple things, which are not apples, this is not an edible plant, just in case you guys were wondering, they do turn darker brown and calcify. And if we walk over here, we can take a look at what those calcified stems look like on the Jimson weed. In fact, this plant's perfect because it has some of the apples that have not yet gone to seed yet, or that have not yet ripened the seeds rather. And then we have one here that has ripened, and this will eventually open up and drop these seeds. This plant is also known as the devil's snare, in addition to Jimson weed and the thorny apple. So really cool plant. Let's go back over here to these flowering ones. It was actually by several different tribes used as a hallucinogenic. However, there is some really toxic alkaloids in a lot of the nightshade families, and especially Jimson weed. So again, I like to cover the ethnobotany uses in addition to the identification properties of plants. If it has a historical use, I'd love to study that and I love to cover that. However, I am not recommending the consumption of this plant because this plant is extremely toxic. Other tribes, for example, have used Jimson weed as something that can actually render you unconscious or heavily sedated to help like reset broken bones and do minor surgeries and stuff like that. And quite often, unless you know what you're doing with the actual leaves or dried seeds, overdose with this plant is extremely common, and this plant I would consider a toxic plant rather than a plant with psychoactive properties. So again, don't consume these nightshades. The Jimson weeds are just beautiful to look at. If you want to study about their past uses, that's cool, but this plant, don't use it. All right, again, this is the Datura stramonium in the nightshade family. This is the Jimson weed. It's a beautiful plant that grows all over the place. You guys stay aware and protect, and hopefully we'll catch a catfish.